Hello, I'm Anthony Amalfitano, a principal solution engineer at Celonis, and today I'll be showcasing a demonstration of the Celonis Execution Management System, or EMS, as it applies to an insurance industry use case. Prior to that, let me quickly outline what you're about to see over the next few minutes. In today's demonstration, we're going to be using Celonis to dig into a claims use case within PNC Auto for an insurance provider. You'll first see how executive and operational leaders can measure their process execution and steer attention effectively. Then we will show you how utilizing Celonis can empower an analyst to automatically identify root causes and process friction to know exactly what process inefficiencies or execution gaps have the largest impact on overall performance. And finally, you will see how Celonis can intelligently and automatically enhance process improvements through automation. So let's dive right in. Let's begin with the executive viewpoint by pretending I'm the head of auto claims, looking to optimize performance for my department across strategic initiatives of efficiency and digitalization. We've selected to display a few key representative KPIs, each of which give me an overview of our progress so that I can easily keep tabs on how we're doing, quickly drill down into any issues, and use this information for my optimization strategy. Today, what catches my eye is the straight-through processing, or STP for short, rate at a staggering 37%, well below the internal target of 75%. This also directly impacts the elapsed time for a claim to be processed, shown to be just under 13 days. And what is more alarming is the steady downward trend over the last several months. Now, because statistics show one of the most likely times for a policyholder to look to leave their current insurance provider is after a bad or a drawn-out experience with a claim, I am very focused on improving the efficiency here and shortening this cycle time. This poor performance requires immediate attention, and I request a deeper look to identify what is happening here. So let's just do that and see how quickly we can uncover inefficiencies using Celonis. So now I'm going to put on my business analyst hat that fielded that request from the executive to figure out what friction points are causing the STP rate to underperform and what we could do about that. Now, normally this is a very tall and daunting task. Before Celonis, I would have to run around pulling reports and querying databases to try and get to the bottom of the problem. But fortunately for me, I have an analysis in Celonis that is going to allow me to do just that. When I log in, I see that I have a digital twin of my process that displays exactly how a process is running within our organization based on the data from the systems that we interact with every day. I'm presented the most common process path immediately, which runs from first notice of loss through claim creation, damage and injury classification, all the way through adjuster assignment, estimate, repair and payment disbursement, and ultimately claim closure. But this makes up only 20% of the almost 320,000 claims being analyzed. And equally interesting is it's one of only 395 variants or deviations from what we often call the happy path. As I start to add variations here, you can see the once straightforward process becomes less lean and more complex. But most importantly, this is a complete and objective, automatically generated view of your true process in all its glory and in all its complexity. A powerful capability of this entirely configurable analysis view is that it is automatically calling out which process inefficiencies are having the largest impact on STP and cycle time. With a single click, I can isolate the largest gap, which happens to be misclassifications. And now my entire view is filtered and focused on all claims that have been misclassified within their process, adding almost 2.5 days on average to the claim lifecycle. In this data set, that is shown as reclassification from repairable damage to total loss or vice versa. And if we look at the first two variants, comprising over 70% of the cases, we see immediately that the median duration, which is useful for omitting outliers, tells an even scarier story of almost 16 and over 19 days for claims in this situation. Zooming in a bit further to inspect the process more clearly, we could start to see bottlenecks and inefficiencies detectable. And if I switch to looking at throughput time, this becomes detectable as days and multi-day delays from a lag in resource assignments after the reclassification to slower moving process steps as the claim is reassessed. This signifies the policyholder experience is impacted significantly by the claim essentially having to restart midway through. Taking it a step further, we were also bringing in dimensional data to potentially highlight additional insights. Here we are supplementing the process mining data with intake channel and claim severity. But the impact is pretty evenly dispersed across all categories for this root cause, lending itself to a more systemic issue. Now, what did we just do and why does it matter? I like to say we went from 2 months to 2 clicks. With Celonis's always-on, factual, not anecdotal process X-ray and purpose-built analysis that you see here, as the analyst, my first click was to hone in on the largest root cause, and the next was to identify specific opportunities to take corrective action on the most meaningful bottlenecks, addressing a specific problem identified, abandonment of automated STP process, and a prolonged claim closure when misclassifications occur. Now, this is a great insight. However, it is important that we're able to act on it and do that on an ongoing basis. And we could do exactly that in Celonis. So in a moment, I'm going to take the role of process analyst or subject matter expert and show how I can utilize Celonis as an intelligent business layer to build intelligent triggers or listening devices, which we call action flows. Action flows can detect scenarios where course correction is needed and either proactively communicate with the business specialist or execute an action in the system. Now let's stay on the topic of these misclassifications resulting in delays and manual rework. And Celonis is that layer that can listen for patterns or triggers, such as changing of classification, and determine the right process route based on system data. And then it can reroute the claim to the appropriate resourcing system for immediate assignment or send out an alert to the assigned party to consider expediting or moving it to the top of their queue, knowing that the claim will undoubtedly fall outside of the standard cycle time without this intervention. If we had observed any specific channel that was more responsible than another, we would be able to add that logic here with these filters. But since we didn't, we are monitoring for any classification change to repairable or non-repairable, and whether the proper resource is already assigned before either alerting or initiating a process request. In all scenarios, Celonis is listening for particular behaviors and routing based on logic defined by the process analyst. This concludes our demonstration of the Celonis execution management system. To recap, what we've just seen is how leaders and execs can track performance and steer their team, how subject matter experts or process analysts can dive into the efficiencies and pinpoint root causes, and finally, how these insights can be operationalized, impacting overall process execution. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration, and thank you very much for the time today.